if you're like me growing up, Cartoon Network was a staple in your cartoon watching experience. And I think I can go without saying there are three main shows we all at least interacted with once. Those being regular shows, Adventure Time, which is my personal favorite, and The Amazing World of Gumball. One question that always pops in my head while watching The Amazing World of Gumball is how are they getting away with these easily reportable crimes? It's really simple. The main police officer is a fucking donut. No, literally. He's a donut. This question I asked myself multiple times was a seed of some sorts that made me wonder if the Watterson family had to be charged with every single crime they did, how much would they have to pay? I aim to find that out. I'm going to be going through these episode by episode, each one being broken down into 3 sections. A summary review,
email goes,
tallying all crimes, and calculating the overall amount of money they would be needing for that episode. But before we go any further, we need to figure out one crucial step. What legal system are we going to use? The Wattersons live in Elmore, which is actually a town in Alabama, but the show Elmore is based off of, I can't get that word here, which is a town in California, and the school is based off of San Francisco, which is also in California. But if you don't know that, the Watterson house is actually a place, and it's the same place the show is based off of. The same place in California, and you can go and visit if you like. So with all that being said, we're going to use California's legal system. So with most out of the way, we can finally start with the first episode, the DVD. To be honest, I wanted to do the pilot episode, but then I decided not to for the main reason I don't watch it. I've only ever seen snippets a handful of times, and I don't ever go out of my way to see it. So with that being said, the DVD is going to be the first episode of this series. It starts with probably the scene I see the most because of that one Chinese knockoff. The boys are tasked to return the DVD that they rented but destroy the DVD and have to make a $25 for it. Throughout the episode, they try and find ways to make this $25, but in the time frame, their mother finds out and chases them while they try to return the self-made replica. Larry watches the replica, calls shit. Nico shows up, pays the $25, and turns out they have $700 in lateness fees. And then they just did. You know, for our first episode, it doesn't really feel like one. We aren't really introduced to anyone, so it makes the episode feel like a middle of a season episode. But regardless, it's really solid. The jokes still hold up and it's structured well. I just would have never guessed it was the first episode. As for the crimes committed in this episode, let's see. Not returning a rented item and property damage are the main ones. Not returning a rented item is a civil offense and not a criminal offense, but after a certain time it becomes theft and is turned into a criminal offense. The thing about that is this is hard to calculate, for what counts as late varies from store to store, so the period of when it becomes late is not clear at all. But from what I found, after a week in most stores is the minimum for when it's classed as late. So if we say it's a 3-week process, give or take, for it to be classed as theft, the most the Wattersons will have to be charged is $1,000 for petty theft for failing to return to this. But also the chances of any judge making a parent pay $1,000 because their child destroyed the DVD is kinda ridiculous. So to say they would have to be charged for this is kinda unrealistic. But running from a $700 fine, you would think it's illegal, but technically it's not. It's a civil offense, and they won't be charged unless the store press charges, which I doubt they did. But let's just say they did. From what I can find, all the store will be able to get if they press charges is the money the Wattersons own. Well, the Wattersons will have to pay for legal fees, entries, and any additional costs. This isn't really the main charge, so it won't really be counting those. But for all the property Nicole destroyed and the number of houses they trespassed on, I'm counting those. When calculating property damage, you have to take a few things into consideration. One of the main things is the amount of money the thing that is destroyed is worth. In this case, it's fences. To make a long story short, these types of fences are called dog-ear fences. The amount of money it would take to place all of these fences, it varies way too much for me to calculate and keep my sanity. So we're going to go off of what was damaged. In this case, it's 4 pieces of wood from each fence. She went through 12 fences, so that's 11 backyards. So 11 charges of property damage and trespassing. Once again, if it goes anywhere past a person, no matter, all that is going to happen is the Wattersons will have a time to pay for the repairs. If they fail to, then it's infraction. That's when they start to get charged around $200 per house, so $2,200 for all houses, and then they still have to pay for repairs. From what I can find, a typical carpenter in San Francisco is going to charge around $30 to $35 an hour. So let's just say $32 an hour. So let's just say for each 4 planks, it takes him 30 minutes. For all 12, it's going to take him 6 hours to repair. An 8-foot plank of plywood running around $24 in total for 384 planks needed for the job. It's going to take $9,216 for the materials alone. So in total, we're looking at $9,600 in repairs, and we haven't even looked at the trespassing charge yet. With all honesty, this probably wouldn't even be more than $100 per house. The maximum for trespassing in California is $1,000, and that's when people are camping, fishing, and basically living on your land without your permission. So the trespassing wouldn't really even be looked at, but we're gonna add it. So that's $100 per house. For 100 houses, it's $1,100 added to the total amount. So in total for the whole episode, it's $1,100 for trespassing, $9,600 for property damage, $700 in lateness fee that they'll be forced to pay, which comes out to $11,400. And this
things, the slightest scratch and they're ruined forever.
This should be illegal, so I'm adding the same. For our first showing for the Wattersons, this is impressive. I didn't expect it to come out to this much while watching. All this first episode did was make me want to see the rest of the show. So on to the next episode, The Responsible. Being honest, I remember when the Amazing World of Gumball started showing this one. You know, thinking about it, I remember all of these season 1 episodes were on. Even when season 2 and 3 came out, they were always season 1 episodes on. That's where mostly skipped the start of the show and rewatch. But even though I've seen it 100 times, it's still great and does a good job at characterizing characters better than some of these episodes, you know. But no tea, no shade. As for the crimes in this episode, it's really tame. And he's biting an old guy. I guess, but I don't see any laws on kids biting people, only dogs, so I can't charge them for that. And the last thing really is the water from the house. The only damage we see being done was their lawn, but even if anything else was damaged, it's water. You can't really, you can't rule them for that. The only crime I see happening here is if they try and get insurance to cover for the damages to the house. But other than that, the tally stays the same. On to the next episode. Oh boy, the detective episode. They're always okay, nothing more, nothing less. They don't thread any new water, they all do the same thing, but regardless, it's an okay episode. And on top of the already semi-disappointing episode, there's no crimes committed. No one was murdered. Even with Darwin helping in the accident, technically it's littering. Like, come on, if you trip over a bottle on the sidewalk and you hurt yourself, whose fault is that? So really, we can't rule Darwin in for that. Even if we're gonna say that the monkey and the furball getting rolled over counts as anything, Gumball and Darwin wasn't involved. That chemical that Rocky has though, that's serious stuff. That's illegal 100%. I can't walk into a Walmart and buy that. But outside of that one episode, he's not a Watterson, so the tally stays the same. On to the next episode. Gumball and Darwin start to get bored with each other, so they start out a third person. Through trial, pain, and annoyance, they picked Tobias. More like he picked them.
I'll be your friend.
Really?
Uh-huh. For $20. What?
But Tobias and Darwin grew closer together while leaving Gumball alone, which led to Gumball to pick Alan as his new best friend. This wasn't working out, so Gumball went to Tobias' house to get Darwin. They made up and played on Tobias' console. Roll credits. Pretty okay episode. Wouldn't skip it on rewatch, but would have my phone in my hand probably. As for the crimes in this episode, there's barely any. It was at this point in watching when I realized, maybe Gumball don't have as much crimes as I previously thought. But the existence of this video proves there are plenty. But to go over the closest thing to crimes in this episode is speeding, but there wasn't really a motor vehicle involved, so it doesn't count. But if we're gonna nitpick, Gumball wasn't invited into the house, so it's technically trespassing, but also it's not since the residents allow it and the window is personal, so you wouldn't really bring that up to the police. But the part that had me scratching my head is this. The police car has been damaged and the speedometer, which is kinda a criminal offense on the charge of negligence towards an officer of the law, but I kinda can't find any charges for this crime. But what I did find is if the court finds Gumball truly purposeful for this crime, he would be guilty. I don't think him screaming in fear and swallowing a bug, even if the footage would be taken in, they would say he did it on purpose, even though he tried to slow it down. So this whole episode has no charges. The tally stays the same. On to the next episode. Gumball is dumb in true Gumball fashion and gaslights himself into being in the puppet's deck.
You saved my life, Mr. Robinson.
I didn't save your life. I just didn't run you over. Now get out of my way.
No way. I am not leaving your side until I have saved your life in return.
Then tries to pay him back for said debt, which in return makes the miserable puppet's lives even more miserable. With a ending in Gumball finally getting to save Mr. Robinson's life with the help of his siblings and finally getting his wish fulfilled by the universe. And I think he killed the guy. On to the crime, shall we? Getting right into it is these many scenes of attempt at murder. Maybe? Were they intentional? No. Did he die? No. On this first one, Good Samaritan's Law would offer protection to some people in these cases where you attempt to do an act of good but make a situation worse. But we do have evidence that Mr. Robinson did not want the help that Gumball was offering.
Mr. Robinson, you're joking!
Gumball, what the?
Well, we're boned.
So in this instance, Gumball is committing battery and will be charged. The amount may vary, but it got worse. He did it again. He did this twice. My Gumball, this is terrible. Why are you going to do this to the man? The man, you are supposed to be protecting.
Are you okay?
He did this 3 times. With all seriousness, I'm gonna try and make life a little more simple by cutting out the court fees with this one as well. But even without the court fees, the amount that Gumball is going to be charged is still difficult to calculate. First, we need to establish the level of assault that Gumball here is invoking. Our first tier is simple assault. It's a misdemeanor, and it can range from anything from punching to kicking. The important part to remember is the amount the person has been hurt. That is what will land you into these different tiers. The next tier is battery causing serious bodily harm. Now, this also ranges from punching and kicking, but it is how bad the person was left after the ass whooping. Were they, let's say, not even hit to the floor, a few minor bruisings, then that's simple battery. But is the person hunching over, can't breathe, right, visible bruises and need medical attention, then you have entered our second stage. But what bridges the second tier and the third tier is if you do this but with a deadly weapon. This tier is aggravated battery. This is where you find the attempt at murders and the assault with motorized vehicles. Determining these tiers are important as they will help us charge Gumball on his multiple acts of violence against Mr. Robinson more precisely and give him a more accurate fine. Okay, so the first act of violence.
Well, Margaret, since you won't take care of my precious instrument, I'll get the cough drops, my zip.
Okay, what do we even count this as? I'll be honest, I forgot about this one. Okay, let me just, yep, you go right there. There we go. As I was saying, the first act of violence.
There, safely out of the way.
What?
Damn. Well, let me just, yep, you go right there. Where was I? Right. The first act of violence, as we have determined, Puppet Guy didn't want any help and stated that he didn't want any help from Gumball. Gumball proceeded, leading him to nearly fucking die. This will land in our second tier, which is causing serious bodily injury. Next up is the time bed scene. The puppet in this scene doesn't really get hurt on the first or the second. We are under the impression that he got hit a third time with it, but regardless, a defibrillator isn't a deadly weapon. Like, even in the hands of someone who doesn't know how to use it, it is not a deadly weapon. Regardless of that though, we are putting it in the third tier. Now the next scene.
Why?
To protect you from intruders, all you have to do is ring the doorbell, like so.
Wait, why would an intruder ring the
It's aggravated battery for sure, but let's deal with the door situation first. From the very start of the episode, we see that Gumball isn't really welcomed around the puppet people. So to set up this trap, he's going to have to be breaking and entering the property. Then on top of that, property damage. So once again, for the property damage, they would just have to replace a door. I have no idea what type of wood the door is made out of, but I did find one of these bad boys. So all they will need is a mill hole and a fresh paint of varnish. Following the 32-hour for the carpenter, it's not going to take an hour. So I would just say someone would charge 50 to put it on. So that's 250 for the door, 30 for the mail hole, and 380 in total for the property damage. Now for the cases of battery. We have 1 act of battery causing serious bodily injury and 2 acts of aggravated assault. Let's be honest for a second. He's going to get charged and he's going to get sent away. So for the first instance, it's going to be 2.5k and a year of jail time. The second instance is going to be 4 years and 5k. The third instance is going to be the same 4 years, but it's going to be higher because of the severity of the damage. So it's going to be around 6 to 7k. And if we want to get most out of the Wattersons, we are going to say that we have to pay for bail. So it's going to be a total of 9 years of jail. Both acts of aggravated assault will going to be 50 per count, and the battery will be 2.5. So in total, the bill is going to be $125,000. I know you thought I forgot about this scene. Nope, attempt at murder. Both of them. Not even for the explosives, but for the sandbags. We can call it 10k for both. I'm not going looking deeper into this. I'm done. So total tally for the episode, we're looking at $330 for the property damage, 125k for Gumball's bail, and 13.5k for the criminal offense charge. For this episode is $138,830. If we add it with the rest, it's going to be $150,230 and 1 cent. Before I end this, I think I should have said it earlier, but it didn't, so I'm going to say no. I'm not a professional at all. I spent way too much hours doing research and reading more than I should about topics I know nothing about in a country I'm nowhere close to. All this goes to show is that there's a reason people go to school for this. And are these numbers incorrect? 100%. Am I gonna keep doing dumb shit? Yes. Should you take this with a grain of salt? 100%. Is it stupid? Yeah, 100%. It was a stupid thought. I made a stupid video and a stupid amount of effort. Either way, thanks for watching.